Hey guys, it's Justin once again. Coming to you on a different format today. I am on my girlfriend's webcam on her laptop, so everything's going to appear backwards, unfortunately. So things that show up like this won't read right, but they are on my Facebook, the photos in my Beach Boys photo folder. So if you'd like to see those, add me on Facebook. Most of you are. So you can get a chance to look at those if there's anything specific you want to look at that I show today. I'm going to try not to show a whole lot, and I'll try to change this the other way. Hopefully, YouTube will let me do that. I can't remember if they'll let me do that or not, but I'll try. So anyway, I'm going to do today in segments. I'll do the Mike and Bruce Q&A, the concert, and then other tidbits. And so first off, I'd like to get up. First, I got engaged over the weekend on Valentine's Day, and I popped the big question that night. And of course, she said yes. So that's a big thing in my life that's going on. And so I just thought I'd let you know. It's going on May 2016. That's our plans. So anyway, just a big announcement for me. Moving on, I was told about the Q&A Saturday afternoon before it happened, and if anybody knows me and you thought, Justin, why didn't you invite me to this? You knew I was in Indiana or something. Nothing personal. I was not. I was told, I couldn't invite anybody. It was limited seating. It was specifically for the IU class. So I'm sorry I didn't do that. So anyway, this is why I'm doing this video. I can share with you. And if you don't want to watch me talk about it or discuss it, I'm going to be typing it up and try to put that in a document to where you can email me and get it if you want, or I'll put it up on my Facebook page. And once again, I'll plug my Facebook page is the Beach Boys Associated Artists and Musicians, like The Flame, American Spring, anything like that, even up to people who influence them. So anyway, back to the Q&A. It started at 1:30, and the professor, Andy Hollenden, he's a professor of the Beach Boys course, and which I had been to one of the things before with Alan Boyd speaking a couple years ago when he spoke about the Smile sessions, when that was released about a year after he talked about that. So anyway, I've got my notes here of what happened at the Q&A. So everybody that was in attendance was the prof, Andy Hollenden, my friends Randy, Jeff Green, Jeff Morris, my fiance Rebecca, and then the whole class. And Alan Boyd was there. He was in the crowd. Mike, Bruce, and it's supposed to be Tim Bonham, whatever his name is. He plays keyboards for Mike and Bruce's band. He was supposed to be the fourth, but it was switched for some reason, and actually Jeff Foskett showed up. Randall Kirsch did come in the hallway, but he never came in. I'm pretty sure I saw him. He's a rather tall guy, so you don't mistake that kind of guy. And then there was Scott Totten. So there were the four of them sitting up front. Andy had brought all of his albums. Of course, if you've seen on my Facebook, I've posted on different Facebook groups his albums, not in chronological order, but whatever. It was awesome to see all that kind of stuff. He played a really awesome mix that he had put together. Yeah, it was Meant for You, Darlin', All I Want to Do, Deirdre, Dance, 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 Cool, Cool Water, Do It Again, Let the Wind Blow, and Disney Girls. How often do you hear that music in public is beyond, you don't, except maybe Dance, 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 and Do It Again, or Darlin'. But to hear that kind of stuff played in public around people, you don't usually listen to, it was pretty awesome. So, besides the point, they started off, and everybody was in great spirits. Someone asked, how many shows do you guys do in a year? Mike said that they played 142 shows last year. That does count for afternoon and evening shows that they would do on like some days. So There was that, and then someone asked, what motivates you to keep going on the road? Mike jokingly said the IRS, and then someone said college tuition. I can't remember if it was Bruce or Mike, for their kids, obviously. His serious answer about what motivates them, is the audience response, and that a hobby became a profession. So he just, lives off that audience feed, like a lot of the guys have said before, and a lot of other artists and musicians have said. Bruce mentioned they had a Saturday night off one time in Texas, and they saw Tony Bennett, and they said that was like the highlight of their weekend. They rarely have a Saturday night off, but they talked about that. And he actually talked up, I believe Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett did something together, and he really talked up their collaboration and their singing. Bruce did. Someone asked about, was there a rival with the Beatles? And everybody has their own opinion on that. Mike believes that he did not feel the pressure in 1966. He felt that the Beach Boys' four-part harmony was distinguished from other groups. And so the Beatles really didn't have a lot of that harmony as much as the Beach Boys did, obviously. Of course, they did in a few other songs, Here, There, and Everywhere, and If I Fell. But obviously this was the Beach Boys' forte, and that separated them from the other groups, which is true. Jeff Foskett mentioned that they were number one in 1966 and, above the Beatles. Mike mentions how the Beatles, Beach Boys, and Motown music are mostly what are played on oldies radio. So that was just a mention of how they're played today. Bruce Johnson said there is no rival. It wasn't a rivalry. It was just appreciation for one another. And then he talked about how he brought the 2 mono copies of Pet Sounds to Europe to play for Lennon and McCartney, and which we all know that story mostly. And mentioned Wouldn't It Be Nice was really influence on Here, There, and Everywhere on the Revolver album, vocally, I would assume. And speaking of mono, Bruce was all about the mono, talking about going back and listening to Pet Sounds in mono. Those are the best sounding records, mono, and talked about, Brian not being able to hear out of one ear, and so how this was the best way to hear things. It was just kind of surprising. He kept going on about listening to mono. Someone asked about tour amenities and how things are different. And obviously things are different. Mike brought up the whole station wagon, U-Haul situation when they were growing up in early days, and now how things are totally different. They told a really interesting story about how Carl got advice from Roy Orbison about a sound system. They got a new sound system, but it blew up in the middle of performance, which is really interesting. I never heard of that. I don't know when that was, but I would assume in the mid-'60s or when they were touring with Roy Orbison. And I do know the Q&A it's in the process. It was recorded visually, and they're going to edit it and put it on, I think maybe Mike's Facebook or the Beach Boys Facebook, whomever's website as well. So right now you're hearing what might not be in that edit. They could edit out some questions. So I don't know. It's not up to me. There are some things I'm not going to speak about today, just because there were some things that they asked not to print. And so it was anything big. It was just some things they politely asked not to talk about. And so the other thing, I asked a question, and we'll get to that at my next segment in part 2. Thank you for watching.